Hello guys, hello world. I am super excited for this show. First of all, let me introduce the show. It's called Open Conversations with Nesh, a space where we celebrate authenticity through meaningful conversations. Mm-hmm. On my left, I have Bosire here. Bosire is my Bible study teacher. Tumejuana since 2021 and I'm really excited for this because he's the msa kwanza who's believed in me, who's believed in what I'm doing. So super excited for the first episode. Tukiwa sloppy, this is the first episode, so guys, hopefully bear with us. Yes, so welcome. Today we want to dive deep in the world of Bosire. Mm-hmm. We're going to get to know him. We want to know why he's important. Mm-hmm. We want to know what makes him tick in this podcast. Yeah, we're having a conversation about Christianity. We're having a conversation about African culture. Mm-hmm. So we're going to dive deep into those topics and see where the conversation leads, where the truth leads. Yes.
I didn't know I'm important. And I can be a subject
in my life. In my life, this is my first episode. So yes.
Okay, so you're the Nesh. You said this is a conversation.
Open conversation with Nesh.
So you're the Nesh.
I'm the Nesh.
So okay, yeah. So what do you want to start from?
Nataka you tell us about your Christianity, how it started, even about your childhood. Unaanza na childhood yako, how it started, and why Christ made sense to you, and how he gave you purpose. Kufika place umefika, you're right now Bible study teacher who has gone through, navigated life. Okay. Yeah. We want just to hear your story. Yeah. Deep into your story.
Okay. Uh-huh. I think, like you say, I'm now starting to feel important.
that is my job. As a host, my job is to make you
feel important.
Feel important, yes.
I've never been interviewed, so...
Oh, yes, this is the first time.
Okay. Yeah. I was born in 1980. Mm-hmm. I'm 43 years old.
You don't look 43.
Gee, sometimes good, sometimes it's bad. Yeah. People come to me and they're looking for somebody bigger and they hear my name. You're Basira, yeah? Oh. I don't look the name, basically. Yeah. My name is Benson Osoro. My father is the one who's called Bosire. Mm-hmm. But I think from high school especially, people picked the name Bosire. Mm-hmm. That stuck. Mm-hmm. I was born in Kisii, Kenya, and that is my homeland.
Also a Kisii.
You don't look like...
Although I don't look like one, yeah.
Yeah, and then my father and mother were living in Nairobi, but during that time when people are about to give birth, they go back home. So I grew up in Nairobi, a place called Kibera.
Yes.
And when I came to be conscious of myself, actually I used to think I was a Nubian. Because those were the people around me.
In Kibera.
Yes.
And that's why I'm interested in your story. Mm-hmm. From your background, for guys who know Kibera is poverty stricken. It's the capital slum of Kenya.
In the African
continent. In the African continent. So this is why I really want to go deep in your story, because when you say you're born in not so much money, and then you come up, and then you really have to be in a place where, and it's crazy that ukukua moved by the prosperity gospel. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm really, really interested in your story. Because in Africa, we've struggled with poverty, and everything we think about is money.
Yes.
Yeah.
My parents were simple people. Actually, both my parents never went to high school. My dad, reached class 7. Mm-hmm. And the younger brother, my uncle now, they did class 7 that time together. Mm-hmm. And the parents could not afford to take them both. Mm-hmm. So they asked my dad to, since he was the older one, to go to Nairobi, look for a job so that he can support his brother go through high school. Mm-hmm. And the brother finished high school. And the good thing is that actually, now that uncle of mine supported me a lot. He understood what happened. And he really supported us, even my brother and the other siblings of mine. Yeah, and then... So being born in Kibera and coming to consciousness and thinking I'm a Nubian, that also came into play when it was about religion.
Oh.
Because the Nubians in Kibera, they are the ones who gave the name Kibera to that place.
Why were you attracted to your Nubian culture? Why were you attracted to that?
I was not attracted. I was born into it. And actually, they are a force. One of the oldest tribes in the continent of Africa.
Oh, yeah, it's
the Nubians.
Yeah,
they even had
there's
a civilization called the Nubian civilization. And their language is beautiful, actually.
Wow.
It's a mixture of Arabic and then their local language. So I picked up most of that Nubian language. The word Kibera, which became Kibera later, nowadays they've gone back to Kibera, means forest. So it was part of Ngong forest.
Okay.
So that's in Nubian. Basically, the Nubians, let me just give a short history about them because they matter to me. When the Second World War was happening, the British recruited fighters from among the Nubians. So then they were deployed, I think, somewhere in East Africa. They were doing, and then the war ended. Some of them were told basically, you can go back home, or we can look for you a place to settle in. So some of them decided to remain. So one of the places they remained in was Nairobi, and I think in some places like Kisii, there were some. And I heard sometimes that there was some population in Kapsabet. So they remained, a few of them remained in Kenya. They were formerly fighters, and then the generations down the line are the ones that we have as the Nubians of Kenya.
Wow.
So the whole concept of Kibera comes from the Nubian culture.
The Nubian culture.
So if they were not in Kenya, we could not be having Kibera.
Wow. That's something I never... No, umetupeleka history class, history 101 lesson.
And then the Kibera I grew up in actually had vegetation and space.
Serious? It's not the Kibera yenye tulikuwa tumeona. It's not the Kibera we see the slums and mtaro kila pahali.
Maybe we look for a photo and show it somewhere. There's a photo of our compound. It had cypress fence.
Wow.
Around. So it deteriorated. I think the late 80s into early 90s. And our MP was Richard Leakey.
Yeah, I've heard of Richard Leakey. At least that I know.
So I grew up thinking, we are people of, we have the one. I think there were two MPs who were in Kenya and they were white. One was in Taveta or Voi somewhere, then Kibera, that one. Yeah. So basically, I grew up among the Nubians. I went to a nursery school called Kisumundogo.
Oh, Kisumundogo. There's also Kisumundogo here in Eldoret, so yeah.
And I don't remember anything much from nursery school, except that I really played my heart out. One of the worst part of that was going to sleep. We were supposed to sleep at, I think, around 11 or somewhere. I just wonder what is wrong with these people. I need to play. The things are waiting for me. We were forced to, but I loved the nursery school. It was awesome. I had a very awesome time in that nursery school. I remember my head teacher in that nursery school, even up to now. That is 1986. Yes.
Wow.
So it had an impact. Then I went earlier. I'd gone to nursery school earlier, but I was too small. My hand could not reach the other. Yeah, so I repeated.
Remember, you've told us this story so many times during the Bible study lessons we've had.
Yeah, I repeated class because I could not touch my ears. But that also helped because everyone in the compound where we were living went to nursery school, so I also joined the group. And then I went to a primary school called Toy Primary School. Most of my friends actually went to a school called Old Kibera. We went there. The first day I was dressed in the uniform of that school, in the Old Kibera Primary School. But just before I was admitted, the classes were full. So with the uniform of that school, I went to Toy Primary School, and I was admitted in Toy Primary School. Toy nowadays is known for the market. But there was no market.
Oh, yeah, Toy market.
There's a school called Toy Primary, so that is where I went to school. Class 1 to 4. And I noticed God's hand in that. Wow. If I had gone to Old Kibera, I could have gone with my friends. And some of those friends of mine, actually most of them, they are not doing well. Yes. Some of them actually died and there have been robbery incidences, some are drug addicts, those kind of things.
So peer pressure would have gotten to you
if I had gone to the same school with those guys.
With the other guys,
So it's good that I went to a different school and that was a bit further than home. So I created new friends. And I was a bit away from this group apart from the weekends. One of the few occasions, like when there were big ceremonies for Islam, I was technically Muslim.
So this is in primary school. This is in primary school. Oh,
yes.
Bado, you've not
No.
known yourself, religion. You've not looked deep into it. You're just going through life.
Yes, and for my family, they were nominally Christian. They were Catholics, and we didn't go to church.
Yeah.
On Sunday is just another day. So there were times that I could go with my friends during holidays for madrasa to the mosque. Yes.
So from that experience, you got to learn about Islam in a way.
Yes.
That's why I think you're one of the reasons I love your Bible study lessons is because you're familiar with every religion. So when somebody comes and asks you about Islam, about these other types of religion, you usually have an answer to everything. Yeah.
I think not an answer, but basically it's experience.
It's experience.
I speak out of experience. Remember the movie Slumdog?
Oh, Slumdog. Yeah.
That guy was not bright, but they were asking everything he had gone through. I think that's the same thing with me. It's not that I know those things. It's just that experience.
Yeah.
God allowed me to have those experiences. So Islam, I had the first spiritual encounter I had was mostly Islam. And for some reason, though, it never clicked.
That's nilikuwa hata nikuulize hiyo swali. Why not Islam? Like, why did Islam click for you? You were going to madrasa, you got friends who are Muslims, it's a brotherhood, it's a
yes, my friends, all of them are doing that.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know why. I don't know why that didn't click. I can't explain actually. For some reason, I never was drawn into it. I could go for the madrasa, try to recite the things in Arabic, the Quran. But beyond that, what I used to enjoy was food. The Nubians, like, they know how to cook. They know how to cook very nice. And then most of the time, going with my friends, it was for the friendship aspect. So instead of remaining just outside home by myself, and don't tell my mother. My mother doesn't know this story.
She's good to see it. She's good to see it. Post it on YouTube.
So so that is the thing. And then the first Christian perspective I had was when we used to go home for Christmas. Our grandmother used to take us to church, especially during Christmas Eve. They used to call it Misa. So at night, people wake up and they are going to the father is coming to the local church to do some Misa, and then so that's the first incident. The Christian experience I had first was Catholic, and because of my grandmother, basically, and she was a big influence on my life. In Kikisi, in the Ekegusi culture, my grandmother is like my sister. So that kind of relationship is what, if you want to tell someone then anything, you go and tell your grandmother and you're sure she'll keep the secret.
That's interesting. I'm a Kisi, like I don't know anything about the culture. So I'm also learning.
Yeah, so then that is the thing with the Catholic Church. After that, in class 4, we were required to go with the Bible when we were starting the year. It was a requirement, one of the textbooks, Bible. So I was bought a Good News Bible. I remember the color, it was red. And I read the story. I started reading from Genesis. They were interesting. And one of the things I remember was one day, my dad and my uncle were talking about an issue of land at our home. And they were saying somebody had moved the boundary. And that same day I'd read somewhere I think in Leviticus or Deuteronomy, about no one should move
boundaries. Yeah, you've mentioned that verse a couple of times in Bible study lessons. Yeah,
so I told them, look, this book is saying something about that. And so from that moment, I think I started seeing that this book is different from my CRE, my maths books, and the other the subject that we were doing. So I read, but I was never a fan of the New Testament because it was not story. Most of it, I couldn't identify with the stories, Gospels especially. I'm reading and then it's not a continuous story.
So what will you call Old Testament?
Yes.
I am not an Old Testament guy, so this is very interesting. I love the New Testament.
My childhood, I love the Old Testament. The stories of Isaac and Jacob. There were stories I could relate, maybe because they were people-centered rather than, for example, teaching-centered.
Yeah, it's stories. It's just about stories. Yeah, it's always about
so
stories.
So for a child, for me, like that picked up and it went on. Yeah. Remember my friends in childhood, can remember their names and even how they look up to now. I've never seen most of them, but yeah. Basically, that's my childhood until class 4.
Oh, class 4.
When I was 10 years old.
Yeah, when you were 10, yeah.
That in 1990 to 1990, my dad, the company was working for, moved from Kenya to Zimbabwe. And then so they were laid off. And now we couldn't stay in Nairobi, so we were taken to home now.
Kisii?
Yes.
What? So from Nairobi to Kisii?
Yes. I remember the first day we went to report in class 5 now in the local primary school called Geturi. I went there and then the master said, you can't, I was sent back home. The reason, I've worn shoes to school.
Hey, okay, that's an experience.
Everyone else is barefooted and I'm wearing shoes. I think it was me and my brother. My brother also now started class 1, the one who follows.
So during that period, what's going on in your head? Like, jaribu kumbuka Nairobi, you're like, I wish we'd go back to Nairobi. Because you're struggling with the culture shock.
One of the worst things my parents did, they never prepared us.
Oh.
So they knew we were not going back, but they never told us. So we went home thinking, January,
January you're going to go. Because going home was something you used to do every year, annually.
Yes, December.
During the holidays.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now this time, Dad said, I'm going first, then I'll come for you guys. So we thought, maybe for a short time, and then we remained. We remained at home. And we were told now we have to enroll in the school, so we went to the school. It was hard because in Nairobi, that was a totally different world.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm really interested to hear what was going on in your head. Nairobi and Kisii are two different. And I'm imagining 1980s, 1990s vile ilikuwa.
Totally different.
Totally different, yeah.
Yeah.
Hakuwa na devolution hiyo time, so I can imagine, yeah.
The primary school, no windows. Some of the classes, completely, there's nothing on the ground. Then the shocker in I had to remove shoes and I'm not used to stepping on the ground. Now that's where my grandmother comes in. My mom was not around, so I went home and then took my grandmother to the school now. I was sent, go and bring your parent to come and be told, don't allow him to wear shoes again. So when my grandmother came, amazing. She went to the headmaster's office and we are together. And then she started asking the headmaster about the mother, how she's doing. And she asked you what for her. And you should come and take them for him. And then the issue of shoes actually never happened.
So you went back to wearing shoes?
I was told, you go to class. So my grandmother and the headmaster sorted it out. I don't know.
So how did you now deal with the other kids? When you're gonna care, you're the one who has shoes. The other kids don't have shoes. Did it bring some kind of?
Now I started being aware of that. Even for me, before I was told, I realized no one has shoes in this.
Yeah, you stood out. Yeah.
So after some time, actually, it's me now who stopped wearing the shoes.
Oh, you decided to conform.
Because if the others are stepping down for a 10-year-old, that is more fun.
That's more fun, than wearing shoes. So you stopped wearing shoes?
Yes, by myself. The master left me alone because of my grandmother, and I continued my life. So class 5, class 6, 7, 8. In class 7, another young man came to that primary school. They were living in Nakuru. Then they were brought to that school where I was. It was called Edwin. We became friends, I think maybe because we
Nairobi, Nakuru,
so that was good, positive influence on me. Academically, from that time, the father also was a teacher and we started studying together. I improved a lot. So I was now top of the class most of the time, and with good marks actually. So that's another thing. There was a gap, me and Edwin, other guys now. Because of that. So class 8, Edwin is number 1, number 2. That's what we used to do. Then when I did KCP, I was number 1. At that time, it was over 700, so I got 416.
Wow.
Now, from our village, that was the first time anyone had become number one.
What? I told you guys.
The whole village
is a super important person, super important individual. I knew it.
The whole village. When the results were coming, I was not at home, so I had gone to see my aunt somewhere far. So and there was no telephone. So I didn't know. I knew that the results have come out. I don't know how much I've got. And then I came back home now to go and collect the results. And people were like, yeah. Especially in our village. Our village was known for drinking, backwardness, those kind of things. So for that to happen, I think it was God also.
Sasa ulikuwa tea kijiji.
Yes. My dad did for me a tea party. That's the first time I had a tea party.
A tea party.
It was a tea party.
Wow.
Okay. So with the things, the little money he had, he called people together in our place. We took tea together. They congratulated me. And then I got a place in Kisii School. Yes. But I didn't want to go to Kisii School.
Oh, Kisii School, Kisii School, national school in Kisii.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go there. I wanted to go to Nairobi since I'm a Nairobi person. Yeah. It didn't work out. That's why I realized also that is also God's doing. Even getting the marks I got, all these things, I think God was still at work.
God working out everything for good.
At that time also, I'm nominally Christian. In primary school, there is during parade time every morning, there's a time for reading the Bible. Somebody comes, speak something, we sing songs. But I'm not into Christianity. So I'm not going to church any frequent. So sometimes we go with my grandmother, but when I'm not feeling like it, I don't go. Now, my friend Edwin, they were SDS. And I think the last term of class 8, I went to live with them so that we can revise better now. I went to live at their place. And that time I started attending the SDA church where they were attending near their home. And that had some slight influence on how also I interacted with Seventh-day Adventists. Because I also experienced that practically without being forced under pressure. Just, you want to come to church? Yes, let's go. I see how they do things. I like the songs, the music. Something also never clicked.
You still felt something was missing?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went to high school, Kisii School. And I remember my parents struggled to get fees the first term. That's why my uncle came in also. My dad's younger brother. He helped a lot with getting school fees. I was late to go to school to report. The other guys had reported, went to school. I remember the Friday before I went on Monday. Actually, I think I refused eating until I go to school. Because I had not seen my dad come. But he came during that weekend, so that on that Monday now we went to school. And by that morning is when was it Mother Teresa and someone died, and Lady Diana. They died that day. Yes, so I can remember the first day I went to 1995.
1995?
Yeah, that's 1995, Form 1. I was very small. My body, I was a tiny kabod.
Yeah, you can imagine.
Yeah. And this high school had men. Had Form 4s. So I'm wondering, wow. So I remember the first day, my dad, we have done everything. I've been given my number, admission number and the dorm and everything. There was a cousin of, I forgot. So Edwin also came to the same school. We were taken the same school. So there's a brother, a cousin of Edwin, who was already in the school of Form 3, a prefect. So we were handed over to him. Edwin had already reported, so he was told I'm coming, so he was the one responsible for us. So instead of going to my dorm, I went to his dorm because he was a prefect. And remember when my dad said goodbye around 3 p.m, he was going to the gate, I felt like crying. He's leaving me alone here.
Usiniambie nyinyi wanyemlilia mkiingia shule Form 1.
I didn't get
it. You didn't cry.
I felt that.
You felt the pain. You felt the pain.
Yes. Then the guys started making fun. They were waiting. It was interesting for them. This is the time they are coming out. I think it was 3:30 because they were coming out for the evening games and things. So somebody was making, the school has bought new balls, look. So he took me like a rugby ball. Carried me on the shoulder to the dome. Yeah, it was an interesting thing, but the good thing is that cousin of Edwin, he was a prefect, so most people respected him. They couldn't do anything.
So in short, you survived with association.
Yes, monolization was not.
Yes.
And I didn't go to my dorm. If I had gone to my dorm, which was called Sameta, I could have had issues. So I remained in that. His dorm was called Manga for some time. But I think second time I went to my dorm. Yeah, and I remember also the incident. That evening we had preps. So we went to Form 1. Now all the Form 1s were still in one class. They were not separated yet. So one of the guys was very tall in that class. One of the Form 1s. Very tall guy. So the rest of us are short, and then him is seated at the back and is standing up. So the teacher came and said, "Hey, why are you standing out?" So we all burst. And the other thing, the following day, a guy comes and stands. He has a maroon, this color, maroon blazer. He stands at the corner and says, "Boys, run to class." And guys were running. Everyone was running. And I was like, "Who is this guy?" I didn't see him in the parade. So that was the school captain, and he was more important than the principal.
The principal.
Yes, he was more feared.
He was
rather go to the principal's office
than go to the school captain's office. Yes. Wow,
I realized that today. Keep away from this guy. I made friends. That from one. I joined the music. The music. I think it was called.
So at this point in time of your life, how's your Christian walk? How are you connecting to God? Are you still the nominal Christian who's just praying a little bit?
It was mandatory. Every Sunday there was a service for everyone in the school. So they used to bring preachers. One of the commonest preachers I remember from that time is a guy who came from India, married an Indian, but was a Christian. And he used to come to the school a lot to preach. I didn't get much of what he was saying, but I realized this person called Jesus that you need is very important. This person, whoever he is, you need to be friends with him. But I never got to decide. I want to now to do that. I didn't get saved.
In high school, you didn't have these events where a pastor used to come to preach, and then after that there was an altar call of salvation.
That what happened on those Sundays. Those Sundays.
So you never were involved in one of them. You never raised your hand. You wanted to be saved. But what about Chongumu your time?
I think the most of the preaching was there's fire coming, you need to stop. And I was thinking, I have many years to live. You guys don't know how long I have to live. So I'll get saved closer to when I'm about to die.
So the preaching of that particular moment was about judgment.
Mostly was about that one. And then that continued, I think, until Form 3 is when somebody came, and I think it was a former PC. It was a PC during that time. Is the dad were the guy who does 10/10 night words. Raburu Samuel.
Oh, Willis Raburu.
Yes, no, the father. The father was a PC.
Was a PC.
And he got saved, and he came to our school one Sunday. And he had the full escort. PC, Land Rovers.
Your time PC, DC, DO, ama ilikuwa PC gani?
PC Provincial Commission.
Provincial Commission. The 8 provinces. I remember
in Kenya. Appointed by the president. So he was very important. One of the key people in government. He came and said, people, I have every reason not to be born again, but I am born again.
Wow.
This is... Jesus has made a difference, and then he gave us posters to stick on the around the school. God is good all the time. So the way he spoke, I realized, okay, so this guy is not that old, and he doesn't need money, but he's a friend of this Jesus.
Wow.
And it looks like he's happy. I think the other thing about why I didn't become a Christian, I think most of this also what I've seen. Our friends who are Christians, we knew two kinds of people. On Sundays, and then the ones who are in the dorm.
Oh, okay.
So
so there were two different people.
Yes, on Sunday they're different people. But when you're in the dorm,
these are
the guys who
different
have
person.
stories and you wonder, what?
Yeah.
There are some, of course, who are for sure serious with their salvation. And one of them was now my friend Edwin. He was an SDA. SDA, sometimes technically would become an SDA on Friday so that I don't go to class for preps. Because for them, Sabbath has begun on Friday, so they are free. So I used to do that also on Friday. I say, now today I'm an SDA. I go to the SDA meeting for a short time and then go and sleep. Yeah. So in Form 3, that's when I got to. After that, Raburu PC preached. I think that's when I responded.
It sparked something in your heart.
Yes.
It sparked something.
Yes, I responded. But also nothing happened after that. I never got discipled. He went away after that. So I got back to default settings.
And I think that's something we'll discuss about later in our episodes, the importance of discipleship. Yeah.
That was what was missing. It's not that I didn't like now this Jesus. I wanted to know him. I wanted to be a real follower, be like this Jesus. But there was no example to follow. No one to tell me how. I had the Bible, of course, but I never read much. What was being read was just what we hear people reading on parades there, the assembly. Yeah. And an interesting thing also that happened, I got baptized actually in that Form 3. Yes.
When the PC preached.
Yes. So after that, the next following, I think, weekend, the Seventh-day Adventists were going to baptize their people. So I decided,
let me join the crew.
I went and I was baptized. And technically, I believe now I'm in good books with Jesus. After that, what happened is, when now people come to preach, I'm more sensitive.
Wow.
And then when they talk about you need to repent, I kept repenting.
So in the previous times, you were not sensitive.
No.
You didn't give. You didn't care.
Yes. There's guys preached. We have been good boys. Let's go back to our heart. So after that, I became sensitive. That's why when another call is called, I feel I've messed up. I just stand up and then go again. I'm gonna raise my hand, whatever the person says. I realized the missing part was discipleship.
So you got saved a couple of times.
Yes, a lot. Remember the last one was now before we started the exams. I wanted just to make sure that everything is fine. This Jesus, please, I don't want to fail, and then it is because I was not your friend. So I've accepted you completely. So just because of the exams. And then after that, I think nothing much happened. Yeah.
So that's in high school, Sasa.
Yes.
So after high school, Sasa.
And high school, one thing I can say, I never really studied. I never put in effort to study
the word.
Even my academics.
Oh, even your academics.
Most of the time I was out of school. I was part of music, drama, French club, history club. I think if there was anyone going out of the school.
Oh, you were there.
I was looking
so you had a creative side, in short. Your creative side was super alive.
The music, especially the music, I remember.
But you look like the guys who were in class reading constantly.
I think one of the things that happened, music. I think the way I got into music. My oldest uncle, my dad's brother, used to play an instrument called obokano, and kisi instrument. But I never had interest. It was at home during Christmas. He would play for people. Okay. So when I went to high school, I found the same thing. This thing looks familiar. So they didn't have somebody to play. I said, I've seen it at home. Let me try and see my uncle what he does. And amazingly, yes, I could play. No one taught me. I played it, and in all the 4 years, we went up to nationals.
Oh, wow. So you had this creative side that you...
And then also drama, yes. And drama also. Drama, I used to take the roles of small children. And it's a boys' school, so feminine sometimes. I remember one of the French plays we did. And
French,
yes.
Wow.
I did French.
You did French?
Yes. So our French teacher was a small lady, unmarried. So you can imagine the boys. So I was given the role to act a feminine role. And the person who was to give us the clothes was the teacher. Guys wanted to become me. So they had the opportunity of wearing the dress of our teacher.
Serious? Oh, boys.
Yeah, it was a good experience. And then, so I never really sat down to study. I never went to preps in the morning. I tried once. I found it
boring,
productive. Actually, I couldn't concentrate in the rest of the day, so I stopped.
So, like, how did you perform in your studies? Because you were never
in class. I barely made it, so I got lost in the average. So B minus, C plus.
From kukwata ya kijiji to being average. Come on, Bosire.
Yes.
Seriously.
But also in the school, I was not among the top. The top person actually, I think, I had 560 or 550. So there were many people ahead of me. Also, I lost. I didn't want. I thought I'm bright enough. I don't need to study a lot. So it's even amazing that I got those grades. Even without, I never put in effort beyond the class. So the teacher said, I used to tell myself, if I've not understood it, I can't understand it. So in the class, for sure, was very active.
So in your KCSE, you performed, how did you perform your KCSE? Oh, you got a B minus?
B minus.
Oh, without
effort.
Without effort.
I think even for me, I was like, okay. But I have Edwin, my friend, he did very well. He got a B plus, I think, and he went to university, came to Chepkoilel. I didn't get an opportunity to go to university at that time.
So you joined, what did you do after high school?
The good thing, one of the best blessings God has given me are my parents. I was never looked at, I'm bright, yes, but I was never looked at as in terms of the grades. I was never treated differently. But yeah, they owe me a bike. They promised if I become number one, I will be given a bike. but motivation issues. But they never pressured me that I have to be this for them to love me. So I said I got a B minus. My dad asked me, what do you want to do? I said, I thought for some time. Actually, immediately after Form 4, I went to stay with my aunt in Isibania. Then I got a job with BAT, a clerk, buying tobacco from farmers. Salvation put it aside a bit. I was being paid well. I don't know where that money went. All of the money for 6 months, I think, that I was on that contract. And then finishing that was 2000. That was 99. Year 2000, I went to live with my dad. My dad now was fully in Nairobi, so I went to live with him in Nairobi. And during that time, I had time now, a lot of time to think. He used to go to work, leave me at home, and I started thinking a lot about my life, what I want to do. A neighbor of ours came and told me, first I decided I wanted to become a journalist. So I went to Kenya Institute of Mass Communication.
So what we're doing right now is what you wanted to do eventually. At first.
Yes. So I went to that school, to the KMC, and that was the day they were recruiting, so interviews and all those things. I found a schoolmate of mine from high school. He was called Bogonko Bosir. Some people may know him. He was a blogger, one of the first bloggers in Kenya. He disappeared. He's never been found. So he was a classmate. I was a schoolmate. We shared some time in their dorm. I stayed in their dorm as a refugee, used to call it that way. So he was a very close friend of mine. And he's the one of the guys who introduced me to a lot of reading, liked reading a lot. So he, in Form 2, he had read, he could understand things like fallacies and, present things that we now got to understand in university. He understood those things, that guy. So he had a lot of influence on also the way I thought at that time. I remember one of the comments our teacher made. He was not fluent in talking, but he was very good in writing. But now we used to have assembly, we used to call them kamkunjis, where we talk about the issues of the school. So he writes, and then I get to present those issues in the assembly. So I was the one who was fluent.
You're the one who could talk?
Yes. When he used to write and then post them on the notice board, and it brings a star in the school.
Wow. So from a young age, you discovered the gift of speaking.
Yeah. Being on stage, I think you can see all those things are stage things.
Yeah.
Music, drama.
Yeah.
So even I remember one of the boarding master in high school, one day he said, after I spoke, said, I think you will become a politician in this country.
Wow.
Yeah. I thank God I didn't. Maybe it's not. Maybe I should.
Maybe you will
Maybe,
yeah. Maybe
somewhere.
you could be some type of influencer. You never know where the podcast inaweza kupeleka.
Yeah. So this guy, Bogonko, we met there. We went. He was ahead of me, so he went and sat down for the interview. Now my worst mistake was to allow him to go first. He was not good on the stage, but if you sit one-on-one with someone, he'll blow you out. So he went and sat, and there were two guys interviewing him. I could see they were engrossed. They took longer on him. They were looking at him, and they put their pens down.
So he could draw attention.
Yes.
He had that gift of making people listen to him.
So after that year, Linge Shule. Coming after him, it was the greatest time.
So were you supposed to go first? You chickened out.
First.
You would have got
it was not even thought before. It just But now that also I think is all those things are God.
Yeah,
they are God.
Working.
God was working in the Bible.
Yeah.
So I never went to KMC. I went back home, failed. It's okay. Then I think a few days later, one of our neighbors came. Was in Kenya Polytechnic, and he said, "I heard you went to KMC. Kenya Poly is beginning a journalism class." Awesome, great. So rushed for the interview, took the papers to the interview. I passed.
Wow.
Yes, so I joined Kenya Polytechnic, the first journalism class.
Wow.
So it was a diploma in journalism and public relations. Some of the people that were in that class, I think their names people know. Josephat Odipo was a friend of mine.
Oh yeah.
Janet Chapia, Mariah Guare, and very important people. Some of our teachers were very, at that time they were influential people. I remember one of the people I remember ni Joe Ageo. Joe Ageo was a journalist I think in KTN. One of the things that was amazing about him, he came to class one day, the first day. We told him, we were about 70 of us. We said our names. He never asked us our names again. So every time he says, yeah, Bosire.
So he knew your names from the word go?
Yes.
Like you tell him once and it's in his head?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's your spiritual experience during this moment? Umeingia Kenya Polytechnic?
Okay. And it was part-time.
Yeah.
That one was evening classes. Awesome time. I enjoyed myself. But now, before I joined Kenya Polytechnic, a radio station began. A radio station in Nairobi, an FM station. FM stations now started popping up.
Oh.
The first one was, I think, Metro. That was.
Oh, okay.
Then, shortly after that, I think there was...
Now before that, hakuwa na radio stations?
Kulikuwa na normal KBC.
Oh, KBC, the
No,
government
frequency
ones.
was not open. So when the FM frequency was open, that's when the FM stations now started coming.
Oh, okay.
The reason was FM required a lot of infrastructure. It is... You have to have a mast every 70 kilometers radius. So the shortwave and medium wave, those ones can go far. So when they started, one of the ones that picked up at that time was Family FM.
Oh, okay.
I started just out of curiosity, what is this?
You know, ilikuja kwa Family TV.
Yes.
Oh.
Actually, they started.
That's what
there was
we
a
found.
radio. There was a radio, and then there was the TV part. So they were interesting. One of the things I remember the first time was the music was awesome. Nothing like I've had before, but it was still good music. So I started listening to some preaching that was coming on. And remember some of the presenters, Tina Nzuki at that time. And then there was a lady who was, I think, the daughter of the owner, somebody Slingerland. Awesome people. They introduced me to awesome Christian music and perspective on life that I didn't have. Out of that, I got interested to read my Bible by myself now. So I remember one day I decided, one of our young people, one of my friends one of the guys in the neighborhood finished school, so I went and asked him, can you give me your Bible from school? He gave me his Bible, and I remember I read from Genesis to Revelation. I think in 1 week.
In 1 week?
Yes.
Okay.
I finished. What I realized after that was there is more to this book than I've been told, and I need to know it. I've not understood everything, but there's this person that I'd met in high school called Jesus. He's more than I had anticipated. Most of what I came to realize was misrepresented to me, but I had the opportunity now to know him directly from the Bible. And one of the days when I was listening to Family FM, it was a youth program, and then they had a guest. The guest was called Ken Aringo. So he spoke, and it was very interesting. He caught me, and he said, then they said, yeah, I'm from Youth for Christ. We have an office in Ngumo. If you want, you're interested in joining us and finding out what to do, just you're welcome. So I decided to, I think that was Monday and then Tuesday. I decided tomorrow I'm going to that Youth for Christ. So the following day, Ngumo is not far from Kibera. It's actually walking distance. So I walked there, went to the office. I was received very well. The secretary, a lady called Washuka, very young people, happy, and they treated me much more than I had expected. So the love part of Christianity was expressed through Youth for Christ. The moment I got into that building, I knew this is where I need to be. Yeah, that's early, I think late 2000. Yeah. So I started going there weekly. They had a Bible study group.
Wow.
And that I think was on Tuesdays, the one I found that day. So I started joining, and then I remember this Kenaringo was the one who was leading the Bible study. It came to life. The Bible came to life when we were doing the sessions. And these are young people like me. They are passionate, they are good people, they don't smoke, they don't drink, they are happy. They are happy, first of all. And one of the things about smoking and drinking, everyone around me actually was doing that.
But it was never your thing.
Even my dad took me to one of the weekends. One of the things was he could say, "Yeah, come," because I'm the firstborn. Let's go to the bar.
Wow.
So I got.
Others would say you have a really cool dad.
Yes. So I got to taste beer, but I didn't like the taste from the first time. I wondered, why are these people using all the money to buy something that is tasteless like this one? You should buy sodas instead. So also God working. I never picked up the taste for beer.
Oh, it was never your thing. It was never an addiction.
And also with my grandma, one day she gave me changa, half a glass. And then I poured all of it into my mouth, and it was bitter. They told me, "Don't spit it out, swallow it." So I swallowed it. After
that's your grandma?
Yes, grandma. She was drinking. So
okay.
So after 1 hour after drinking that, the last thing I remember is that was in the evening. I was going to wash my feet, so I go into the house. Outside, that was in our rural place. Well, I think I was 13 or 14, 13 or 12 years. So there was a stone that people used to lead their feet in shags in the rural place.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So that stone, it's a big one. So I touched the stone and then I put my leg. But when I'm putting my leg, the stone is moving. So that's the last thing I remember. After that, I woke up the following day. I don't remember what happened. My head was aching, terrible experience, not worth it. I wrote off that issue. So drinking and those kind of things were not there. Smoking, in Kibera, I remember one day, the guys from the Mta, one of our guys, the first body of ours was called Bingo. Bingo guy. So we went to a nearby place called Adams Arcade.
Adams Arcade, yeah.
That was a high. You know, when we went to hang out, we went to
Adams Arcade. Cool kid.
Yes. Now behind Adams Arcade there was the dust, the big dust where the people throw their chaff. So we used to go and scramble all those things, and around there we could do things. So one day the guy lit a bang.
Weed.
Yeah, weed.
Weed is a better name. Bang, bang. Hey.
Yeah, weed. It's going around. It's going around, and people are puffing. We were about, I think, seven or six. So when it got to me, I was the smallest. Bingo quickly jumped and said, "No, don't give that one." Don't give that. I don't know why he said that one. Probably if he had my dad.
Or he saw your innocence. Or especially when you're a kid, when you look very innocent. People
he thought I could overthrow him. So so I never got to test. I know how weed smells like, but I never got to test it.
You never got to test it. It was never your thing.
Cigarettes, I tested. One of my uncles, three of my uncles actually smoke. Even my dad he could smoke on Christmas Day only. He was strange person. After that, he doesn't.
Your dad is cool. I need to meet your dad.
I smoked one day, and I wondered, so where is the pleasure in this? Where is it? There are better smells and smoke.
I feel like if you'd use it eventually, ungekuja kuizoea. That's
now
the thing
for
with
me,
drugs.
Yeah, now for me, the first thing when I interact with something, if it doesn't categorize as
you
good,
cut it off.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you joined a church.
Yes, now that is Youth for Christ.
Youth for Christ.
It's a ministry, not church yet. I'm not going to any church yet.
Okay.
I went to a local SDA place, church. I didn't feel it. I was feeling like going to church was a
So Youth for Christ didn't have Sunday services?
No, as a ministry.
Just a ministry for young people?
From different churches.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. The reason Youth for Christ was there was to reach now high schools and other young people, but it was an interdenominational ministry. It is actually, it's even there up to this moment. So it's in Youth for Christ that I was discipled. Got to understand how it looks like to live a Christian life.
A Christian life, a Christian walk.
The first time I did a kesha, praying overnight with other people, was Youth for Christ. First time I fasted was during Youth for Christ.
How old were you?
That is 2021.
Oh, okay.
So remember, for example, the fasting, we said we are going to fast, guys, this week. We are going to fast for a day. So I misunderstood. They meant 24 hours, but I did 36 hours.
You did 36 hours? Okay, sawa.
Thinking it's one day. So when I realized later, the guys I was talking, I had problems sleeping. There was nothing in my stomach. Because I didn't take breakfast. I took supper, and then I jumped breakfast, lunch, supper, then the following morning. That's when I took breakfast. For me, that's one day. I could have taken breakfast to breakfast. So
you had dedication. It shows you really had dedication. And you were there. You're fully there.
Yeah. So I started looking for churches. One of the good things that Youth for Christ was we were being invited to different churches around Nairobi to do ministry. I remember going to those churches. No. One day we went to a church called Karura Community for a ministry. So after finishing, I felt, yes, this is where I want to be. This is my church. And by that time, I was still in Kibera. So that was across town in Kiambu. So I had to cross town. But I felt this is where I need to be. This is my church. So that's my first church, official church. In Youth for Christ, I got to even become staff. I was an office manager after.
So you rose through the ranks very quickly, yeah?
Yes. And then during the same time, that's when I was doing also doing the diploma.
Oh, you're still in
classes,
school at the same time.
Evening classes. So during the day, I'm in Youth for Christ. In the evening, I go to class from 4 to 7. My dad worked hard, paid the school fees. I enjoyed myself in Kenya Poly for 2 years. During that time also, I met somebody moved into near the office of Youth for Christ. And guys were talking, Reuben Kigame has moved into the neighborhood. Is Reuben Kigame? Guy is a apologist. What is an apologist?
Oh, Reuben Kigame.
Yes. And then I got to learn actually was a Youth for Christ person. Also, his ministry started under Youth for Christ. So one day I went to visit him. I took to him the questions I had about faith. And I talked to him. He looked like, so there are answers actually to this faith.
And for guys who don't know, Reuben Kigame is one of the best Kenyan apologists we have. He ran for presidency in 2022.
Yeah, though he was not in the ballot.
Though he was not in the ballot. One of the best speakers we have out here. One of the best speakers we have in Kenya. And actually the music, this music himself, actually even more. So at this particular moment, has he blown up? Is he actually, does he have the status that he has right now?
At that time, people knew him more for the apologetics.
Oh, okay. Because now we know him for the music.
Yeah. During that time, actually, around that time is when Benny Hinn was coming to Kenya. And he had written an article telling people not to be part of Benny Hinn's.
I can imagine how, because at
that time,
prosperity gospel has been a thing even up to date. Like telling people not to get out of prosperity is very difficult. So I can imagine at that particular point the backlash he got for writing that.
A lot of backlash. That's what made people know him, especially in church circles. But before that, people knew his music. He had produced his first album that has the Wastahili Bwana.
Oh yeah.
So those were people were singing his music, but they didn't know him as an apologist or something like that. But his heart, the primary heart was apologist, being an apologist. So he moved to the neighborhood. I went one day, booked an appointment with him, spoke to him. I told him
it was so easy to meet him.
At that time, yes. I think not hard. He was in the neighborhood.
So he was in the neighborhood too.
Two blocks, 2 offices down the line is his office.
So how was your experience with him when you meet him?
First thing I noticed, they are bright Christians and their answers.
The answers to questions that you were asking.
So one of the problems I had was because I'd been exposed to a lot with SDA, I had very many questions about Sabbath day, which one is the right one, those kind of things. So I talked to him and he was giving me answers, and I was feeling, actually they are biblical. I felt their answers. So maybe the thing that helped me most with was to know their answers to your questions and their biblical answers for that. I told him I am a journalism student, so he was doing programs for a radio station. So he incorporated me into that. He gave me a day I was to go do the programs with him, and then they go to. So I started practicing journalism, still in school. One day, he was one of the presenters also on Family FM. So one day he invited me to the show. We did a show with him.
You did a show with him?
Yes.
Like a session. You guys had a recording session with
wow. FM live on radio.
And you can see how God is working. Pole too. Like I can see the story. That's why I love stories. You can see how everything is coming to fruition.
Yeah, I went to his home. After that, it was late. I couldn't go back home. I think the program got finished at 11 or midnight. His house, went to his house. I was amazed. This guy is blind, but he knows where things are. He can move around quickly, and we became friends from that. And I could see I was not a bother to him. The wife was very nice. There are people who go to the house and you feel you are bothering them. So this one, I didn't feel that way. I felt already the first time I'm accepted. Then I was doing the album that has the Nasi song and Ombilango. The album is called Ombilango. So he asked me, what do you also music? I told him about music, what I do, the instrument I used to play in high school. He said, you can play it in the album. So actually I played in that album. Kigame's album, the instrument.
You played an instrument?
Yes. In the original pictures, I'm somewhere there.
Okay.
So I was involved in that album, and I remember singing also in one of the songs. We were looking for somebody to sing Kikisi, my son. Yeah, so we became friends. After some time, he asked me if I can. He was looking for a personal assistant. He asked me if I could become one. Went to my Youth for Christ course. I told him, Kigame wants me to become his assistant. He said, go.
Will go be Kigame?
Yes.
What? Okay.
From that, I think it was 2003. Yeah, 2003. And then from that time, I went with, I started working with him. I didn't have any driving experience. He had a car. The wife was the one driving it. So he paid for me to go to driving school. So I went to driving school.
Wow.
Through Kigame. And what also happened when I became his personal assistant, he used to read a lot. But most of the books are not in Braille, so hard copies, normal text. So we had sessions where I could sit and read for him books. And these were difficult books. The books by C.S. Lewis. I've never had a book. What is this guy saying?
C.S. Lewis is one of them.
I was telling me, just read. So that helped me now. Somewhere in the middle, I create interest. I started understanding what, for example, C.S. Lewis was talking about. And that helped me now have the interest for reading. Reading now that kind of material, that direction, and apologists, many books. He had a very nice library. So my reading Christian literature started that way, by being forced to read for some, being paid to read for someone. Yeah, that's how I became a reader.
That's how you became a reader.
Yes. From that time, I now could look for books by myself to read.
Wow.
I got to know people like Ravi Zacharias. I got to know him through the tapes. So Reuben had a collection of tapes. Ravi Zacharias. So I got to also listen through them. Yeah, and I grew a lot during that time.
You grew a lot.
He also used to go for ministry. So we used to go different, even universities. And I could hear him preaching, teaching, and debates, those kind of things.
Wow, that's a super interesting story. So guys, you've heard of Bosire's story. Bado Jamaliza, there's definitely a part 2.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. This is just the beginning. Just wanted you to get acquainted with Bosire and get to know him, because there's a lot of discussions we want to have and talk about. So hopefully you had fun. Stay tuned for part 2.
Thank you.